The Accidental Wizard, Part 7, 25th of September. Fairies at the bottom of the garden are a myth, right? Well, I don't think they are, as it happens. I'm staying on the shores of Loch Goil in Scotland at the house of my friend Gary. His son Jack is the one I've mentioned, who has a huge orb which appears with him constantly. Gary's an amazing guy with an uncanny knack of seeing an opportunity and driving a truck through it, which invariably ends up towing a big trailer full of money as a result. I've helped him work on the house, and it's a dream of a place, a fantasy. Gary has pretty much zero interest in what's happening to me, and isn't that interested in discussing it, and that's fine. But whether he likes it or not, he has the best garden fairy collection I have ever seen. The boys come up for weekends of collective midlife crisis management, which consists of messing around, walking, bonfires on the beach, and fireworks. We're staying this weekend and having a great time. We were here almost exactly a year ago, and the manner in which the fairies, elves, Esaks, and goblins manifest themselves are strikingly similar year on year. I can hardly believe I wrote that last sentence. I'm an ex-rugby player who once got stopped by the police, eventually, for riding his motorbike at 150 miles an hour. They didn't fine me for speeding as they couldn't calibrate it, as their instruments were off the dial and recorded a blank. Funny that. I was using the force to see if I could do it and not kill myself, which obviously had worked. They thought I'd been drinking. When I tried to explain that I was a wizard and therefore invulnerable, I got breathalyzed too. I am not quite this stupid anymore, but it was an interesting experiment nevertheless. But there are fairies at the bottom of Gary's garden. We build a bonfire on the beach, and I take some pictures of orbs around my friend Pip Warmouth, one of the greatest landscape painters in the country. He has a go with my camera, and takes quite a few himself. Some appear around the bonfire, and I capture these angels of love shooting upwards with comet tails, too fast for embers floating off the bonfire, as the length of the tails, calculated against the shutter speed, indicate they're travelling at around 1,000 miles an hour. The house and the local hotel are populated by a combination of little shooting lights and pudgy orbs. I've taken several thousand pictures of orbs now, and I'm becoming pretty good at recognising different categories. In fact, it's like human faces. We're extremely good at recognising and memorising thousands of faces, and it's the same with orbs. They're very consistent. I take some pictures of the outside of the hotel and compare them to the ones I took in the same location a year ago. They're indistinguishable from one another. On each occasion, a group of bright orbs are captured shooting upwards. Their tails, created by the speed with which they are travelling, point down. When I walk down to the bottom of the garden next to the boathouse, it's as if a group of children on a school trip are following me. I turn round and press the button, and the lens is full of them. There's a vast and complex array around us, and it ranges from the very high, like the archangels and Christ himself, to cheeky little pixies and fairies who are forest spirits. They watch over nature and leave the heavy lifting to the archangels, the seraphim, and the cherubim. This is caught up in the dynamics of our universe. A little astrophysics brings the limitless possibilities of the angelic network, the work of the galactic elders who watch over us, and the God who is the creator and omnipotent power behind everything. And I'm not even religious. I don't accept religious dogma at face value. Consider this. If you imagine the years which the universe will exist as the atoms which make up everything in that universe, there would not be enough to express it. Not enough atoms to represent the trillions and trillions of years space and time have already passed. Our solar system, which has been around 3.5 billion years already since our sun formed, has about another billion years to go before the sun becomes a red giant and cooks the Earth. Our nearest star, Alpha Centauri, is 4.5 million light years away and will be around for about 14 billion years. It's already a red dwarf, so it's hard to see amongst the billions of stars around it, although they are much further away. The whole history and end of our solar system is less than the blink of an eye in the scheme of things. Yet we are amazing creatures with dormant powers we are now only relearning to use, and rediscovering our link with the beings and consciousness which govern the astonishing dimension in which we live and die. Anything and everything is possible. When you open your heart, which means allow yourself to feel and believe in the endless possibilities which surround you, you will feel this as a knowing. It's a revelation to give yourself permission to sit in the moment and think what's possible rather than what isn't. How many times do we have to relearn this lesson in our many lives, I wonder? First of November. I'm remembering who I am. The lock on my third eye has been undone and cast away, and I'm growing more certain than ever before about who I am exactly. I'm a wizard and a sorcerer from previous lives. I have a will, an energy which I can transmit and change things. I feel as if I'm not allowed to vent it fully yet, as I need to control it before I have an accident or destroy something by mistake. My connection with the Tor is strong, and it appears to be my stepping off point for journeys into the cosmos and around our own world. It hums with possibility whenever I'm there. It also changes constantly because of its nature as a portal, a gateway to other places. I sound so posh when I say portal, don't I? A portal. And I'm learning from a combination of regressive hypnosis, my own revelations, and from channeling by others, that I've wielded the Ark of the Covenant before. You know the thing. It opened up and roasted the Nazis at the end of the Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's said to either contain the staff of Aaron, or later the Holy Grail, the broken tablets which God wrote the Ten Commandments for Moses, or the sacred flame of Saint-Germain. I apparently used it against the walled city of Jericho, and it's now hidden in a parallel dimension out of harm's way for the time being, and until I can relearn the necessary skills from previous incarnations. I am a soul rescuer who can help move trapped souls on, and I'm told I will soon need these skills in a way I can't yet imagine. I have to confess at this point that although I try to stick to my own maximum of open heart, open mind, the way you receive information sometimes makes your natural cynicism and lack of trust get in the way. A lot of this sounds crazy, even to me. But you know what? Again and again, it has a way of coming true or falling into place. And the voice in my head, the voices which float into my head through what I can only describe as my psychic radio receiver, gently urge me to trust in what I'm being told and in my own abilities. But it's hard to sometimes. It's just a step too far, even for me. The people around me, the people who love me, humour me as they can see it's so important. But it always comes back to the pictures. The evidence is there permanently in the photographs, and yet the questioning and doubt is always swirling around in my head. What if skeptics are right? What if I am chasing rainbows? If I have figuratively forgotten to take the lens cover off? But then, there is so much of it. So many different locations and conditions which have to be more than coincidence. This has been going on for 3 years now. Will I always doubt myself? How much more evidence do I need? I'm just about to find that out in the most extraordinary week of my life. 18th of January. I'm at home watching the destruction and chaos in Haiti caused by a direct hit on the capital by a 7.1 magnitude quake. It looks really bad. It couldn't be much worse. Port-au-Prince is on a sedimentary floodplain around the river. It's surrounded by granite mountains. Earthquake shockwaves slow down in sedimentary rock and bash into each other like the carriages of a train in an accident. It's called amplification, and it means everything shakes around more violently. The unfortunate thing for Port-au-Prince is the city is full of poorly built buildings with heavy concrete slabs for floors. The houses built on the granite are untouched, but it's a disaster in a poor country with a dismal history. I'm wishing I could be there now to help. Later that day, the phone rings. The TV production company want to know if I will go out there and make a documentary. For the first time in my life, I get the feeling that if I go, I might not come back. I've never had this sense before, and it scares me, to be honest. I'm promised armed guards, good ones, ex-SAS type good ones, with guns. I'd rather take Avni, my Kosovan business partner, but it isn't practical. I want someone I can trust to stop me getting killed. It's really in the forefront of my mind. 20th of January. We're at Gatwick with a ridiculously huge pile of boxes full of supplies and camera equipment. We've been advised to take our own food, utensils, everything. There's nothing which can be sourced locally. I'm nervous, and so is everyone else. My cameraman Michael, appropriately named after one of my favourite archangels, is calm. But then he has just finished filming lions and buffalo. In Kenya. And I remember how bad-tempered an animal the buffalo is from my own shoots. The producer and the whole production team are there to see us off. I said goodbye to my wife, seriously wondering if I'd ever see her again. And the problem is no one knows anything about what to expect. The security guys can't pick up their weapons until we get into Haiti itself, and we're looking at a drive through a lawless no man's land between the Dominican Republic and Haiti, where stories of muggings, rapes, and murderers are ringing in our ears. The production team, who aren't even coming, look even more nervous than I feel. They're thinking the same as me. I'm wondering why I agreed to do this. I don't have to. It's only a telly programme. Is it worth the risk? Yes, it is. Am I developing a death wish? Am I secretly hoping I won't make it back? No. A part of me doesn't care if I make it or not. That is not a nice realization. How can I feel like this? I've discovered angels. I've photographed them. We're not alone. Why then do I want to go? Because I think staying is worse. That is so messed up. On the tarmac, waiting, our place in the queue to line up and take off for our stop in Sao Paulo. Metatron, my guide and keeper of the cellar gateway, comes through very powerfully. So strong my head is singing and my heart is thumping. We have work to do in Haiti, he says. Maybe I'll be too busy to get killed. I hope so. Metatron is the angelic evolution of Enoch, who helped Michael kick Lucifer out of heaven. The Christian Church of England took the Book of Enoch out of the Old Testament around 750 AD. It contains huge stories about the work of the angels, and I think they must have felt it detracted from the focus on God's work, as interest in angels and their power attracted a big increase in attention around this time. But the book glorifies God's power. It does provide a lot of detail about the angelic realm and their importance, but it refers to the Nephilim in detail, who aren't very popular with the church. They're referred to elsewhere in the Bible, but it was felt they had a hand in the Book of Enoch. The church felt the Book of Enoch was blasphemous, as it I'm going to have a go at that whole sentence again. The church felt the Book of Enoch was blasphemous as it Okay, here we go. Take 3. The church felt the Book of Enoch was blasphemous as it depicts fallen angels consorting with mortals and singing. The Nephilim were offspring of angels called the Watchers, who rebelled and were cast out of heaven. They were incarnated on earth and mated with women. Their distinctive trait was that they were very tall, giants even. The theology about Nephilim is some of their descendants became highly intelligent and corrupt. It's believed they infiltrate all corrupt concentrations of power. It's thought the Nephilim taught mortals astronomy and astrology, the key to nuclear power, and how to divide and rule. It's important we're aware of this for our understanding today of the order of heaven and earth, because whatever is not understood about history is doomed to be repeated. In the Book of Enoch, it describes how the Watchers, who were the fathers of the Nephilim, were cast into a cave and imprisoned for eternity by Archangel Michael and Gabriel. This is what became the underworld, or hell. Gabriel, feeling compassion for their fate, threw his lyre, a stringed musical instrument, into the pit so that they could console themselves with music. But the lyre was used as a weapon which controlled humans with its beautiful music. It's also believed in mythology that a Nephilim murdered Noah's son Japheth and assumed his likeness. And then the Nephilim Japheth was responsible for fathering the children who started the tribe which populated most of Europe after Noah's flood, if you can believe such things. We're in a bizarre hotel in Santo Domingo. When we arrive, I walk down the hotel corridor, and judging by the sorts of sounds coming from the rooms, it's a certain kind of hotel, if you know what I mean. The tropical fish in the giant tank in reception watch me reproachfully. Reception is a sort of courtyard guarded by a chihuahua asleep in a washing up bowl. A man is playing a didgeridoo. I'm not making this up. We are here to meet an old friend, Roger Billam, a seismologist from the University of Colorado. Roger and I first met in Pakistan, and he ended up presenting my program on the quake by sort of accident. He is a wild-haired, old-fashioned British eccentric and one of the world's experts on seismology. He spent plenty of time making do and sleeping wherever he can in the field, which is just as well, as we have to not only share a room, but a bed, as there's been a mix-up. He sleeps cocooned in a sheet like a mummy. I rotate all night like a crocodile with a careless springbok in its jaws. Neither of us really got much sleep. Michael unpacked the camera kit and found that it had been quite seriously damaged in transit, and he's staying up all night to try and repair it. I have no clue how we're going to get into Haiti. All flights have stopped as the terminal is leaning at an angle and has been closed. A chopper apparently is going to cost us $30,000 that I don't have, so I'm out of options right now. We'll take care of everything, whispers Metatron in my ear. Sleep. You'll need it. I sleep. 21st of January. We managed to hire 2 good 4-wheel drives, and they leave with our drivers and all our equipment for the border into Haiti. They're like a mobile camping shop, and I wonder if I'll see either of them again. As promised by my guide Metatron, I found a way in. The only scheduled flight there is. I cannot believe how many people I'm required to bribe. I even get a receipt. I've put my trust in Metatron to guide me through this and get us all back alive. And as the turboprop wheels away from us on the grass perimeter at Port-au-Prince, I wonder if we need to clear customs. What a joke. No one is in charge, and it's everyone for themselves. I told the drivers to find a Union flag and stay there next to it, and I'd come and find them. We walked past hundreds of makeshift camps of relief workers and armies from around the world. The constant activity and mobilization is right in front of me, and it was the subject of the news reports I saw on the news only a few days ago. Very weird experience. Now I'm in the middle of it. I walked the length of the runway with one of my bodyguards. As luck would have it, we were dropped at the far end of the runway to where I find my guys, asleep in the 4-wheel drives, right next to the Union flag, as instructed. We return to where we left the others with the gear, and we load up. As we drive out through the US Army checkpoint, flanked by 50 cal machine guns mounted on Army Hummers, I wonder if we'll be able to get back in. So I go and find an FBI agent who's checking US passport holders through to be airlifted out. He's with a family of Haitians in their Sunday best. They're all cleared to go, but the smallest of the children with them is not theirs and doesn't have a US passport. She's the daughter of a distant relative who didn't make it. She isn't allowed through, so after some heart-searching, they decide to stay. I ask the agent how we can best get back into the airport, should we use the checkpoint. She shrugs, says she doesn't know, and that she isn't a travel agent. So much for the special relationship. I get a bit knocked, and the soldier raises his rifle at me. Doesn't take long, does it? I mentally turn him into a newt and stalk off, fuming. I'm walking across some marble tiles, which someone has spilt cooking oil on. I skid and fall. My bodyguard tries to catch me, but twists me around instead, and I crash my knee really hard on the ground. I've cut my foot. I'm wading around in a river of little more than sewage a few minutes later in the centre of town. The destruction and the smell of decomposing bodies is everywhere. We're filming a doco about the geological causes of the quake and its effect, but it's impossible to not be deeply affected by what we see. We find ourselves at the cathedral, a large pink building which features in a lot of the news coverage. A service was taking place when the earthquake struck, and people lie dead under the rubble. I can sense the souls of hundreds of dead wandering around. Try that again. I can sense the souls of hundreds of dead wandering around. They're asking me what's happening and what will become of them. These are people who are dead. They're not there. They're not real. I reply and try to reassure them. I feel enormous love and compassion and know what I need to do, why I've been led to Haiti, and why I accepted this assignment. I take a step back and trip over a body sticking out from the rubble. I fall backwards and land on another one. The skull is crushed in, and it's unrecognisable as a person now. I've been filming in this merciless heat of the sun for hours, and I need a rest from all of this. So I sit in front of the four-wheel drive, and Metatron is there speaking soothingly in my ear. I should come back and help these souls gathered at the cathedral to move on. He'll show me how. Back at the airport, we can drive in easily. In fact, no one restricts our movements, so we drive around amongst the giant planes parked tightly together on the apron. Do you know how loud a 747 or a C-17 Army transporter is close up? Very loud indeed. We find our way back to the Union flag and make friends with the British contingent, who let us make camp with them. We use their hot water urn to heat our emergency rations, which works brilliantly. They tell us to watch out for the tarantulas. I laugh, in on the joke, until one chases me for 50 feet. We spend the night in our tents with the equivalent of Heathrow at its busiest 200 feet away. I sleep for maybe 10 minutes at a time between aircraft movements. 22nd of January. Our second day's filming is going well, until two policemen sitting in their cruiser are shot dead 200 yards from where we're filming. Dozens of US soldiers pass us on foot, accompanied by Humvees and support trucks. The dust trail they kick up is choking as it drifts across us. We could be in Baghdad. That night, I ask our security guys if we can return to the cathedral. Roger, the seismologist, is up for it. After some discussion with their boss, they agree it should be okay, now we've assessed the threat level. Our bodyguards have both lived in the city for 6 years, so know it well. But even so, it's pitch dark. Most of the landmarks are now a pile of rubble, and there are people sleeping in the middle of the road, so we need to proceed with caution. And they sit directly behind one another in the four-wheel drive. Apparently, this makes it harder for someone to reach in and shoot them both. Who knew? There's only one moment when they both almost unconsciously slip the safety catch off their weapons, as a wild-eyed man sticks his head in the front window to give us directions. After 30 nervous minutes, we drive up to the ruins of the cathedral in blackness. I can already feel the power rising in me, and I'm thinking in a language that I don't recognise. That funny language. Turns out this is my grand debut. I jump out of the four-wheel drive, followed by the bodyguards. I've both cameras out, and as I instinctively know, I need to record what is about to happen. I'm speaking out loud. I know the bodyguard can hear me, as they have never let me get further than 5 paces away. They haven't drawn their weapons concealed under their baggy shirts, so they can't be unduly worried. Metatron is above the cathedral. We open the stellar gateway. I'm so excited, my heart is pounding. I have grounded myself in preparation, and I was opening my chakras and concentrating on my crown chakra and third eye as we drove. I'm taking pictures and reassuring the frightened souls around the cathedral. I tell them they're about to fly away to heaven and everything will be okay. There are thousands of them. And then the angels arrive in their thousands too. I imagine if I was one of those waiting souls, I would be able to see a beautiful angelic realm arriving, beckoning and smiling as the angels' wings beat slowly. For an instant, the angels vanish, and the tide or current starts to move in the opposite direction as the souls appearing on both cameras start to make their way to heaven. And Metatron is working with me to release them as his conduit in the earthly realm. The images which appear on both cameras are astounding. Roger has been watching and listening and is nonplussed. He's seen the little white dots of the angels and the souls appearing and disappearing on my camera's electronic viewfinders and heard me speaking what sounds like Aramaic or ancient Hebrew. He's been taking pictures too, but has seen nothing similar. He wants to know what I'm doing and actually what the hell I am. On the way back to the airport, I try to explain. In my inexperience, I've made several mistakes in finishing the ceremony, from which I am yet to suffer the consequences. January 24th. We fly back to Santo Domingo, eventually. The first plane won't start, so they find another one which arrives with only one engine running. This is actually to avoid 2 startup costs to the airport. So not all commerce has died on its feet then. We cram our gear in and climb aboard, grateful to have made it. There's only one flight out a week, and this is it. Our clothes never arrived on the flight in. Someone was obviously making some choices on what went and what didn't on the overloaded plane, and I've lived in the same filthy shorts and shirt for a week. I smell really bad. I think about another flight we took out of Simeulue, an island off Indonesia, when I was in a similar condition after the tsunami in 2004. The little transport plane was so full I was sitting on the floor between the seats. Wouldn't get that at Heathrow. And there was so much water on the runway from the tropical downpour, we only just got up to take off speed. And I'll try that one again. There was so much water on the runway from the tropical downpour, we only just got up to take off speed in time. Oh, sorry, take 3. There was so much water on the runway from the tropical downpour, we only just got up to takeoff speed in time and made it over the wire perimeter with half a metre to spare. Very close. 25th of January. Back in the Dominican Republic, we were awarded for our work to release the souls at the cathedral. After 2 days camping at the airport, the rather splendidly named air bridge controller, who hails from Jakarta, Indonesia, takes pity on us. He barters Roger, agreeing to be earthquake expert and greet a UN politician on behalf of Haiti to debrief her on the quake, which he does brilliantly, in return for the promise of a ride back over Haiti. This is so we can film from the air, an essential angle for the film. I'm calm. I know we'll be okay. We have one of the most powerful beings in the universe helping guide us. I can't believe I just wrote that sentence, but it makes sense to me. Maybe I am crazy. Exhausted, certainly. We're hanging around the little control building watching life pass us by. We take pictures of one another. And then suddenly a huge passenger helicopter becomes available. ERA, the wonderful, kind US company who own the heli, need to drop medical supplies around the country at various hospitals, which means they're about to do a quick circuit of the whole country. We are shoved on board and are already taxiing as I call the office back in the UK to tell them what's happening to get us insured. Roger is receiving coordinates for the fault line and NASA pictures of the area, so we'll recognise it when we see it. It couldn't run smoother. We stop off and deliver supplies and film the fault line from the air. But it's not where it should be, and we realise we're looking at a different fault line to the one we expected to find. There are two. This is a big deal for Roger as a seismologist, giving him a world exclusive, and us into the bargain for the film. Whole sections of the coastline have sunk into the sea, and other sections have been pushed up by the movement of the fault. Coral reefs are now exposed to the air, and trees along the shore are submerged almost to their tops. We land back in Santo Domingo feeling triumphant. I say a silent prayer of thanks to Archangel Metatron for watching over us. We're so relieved and excited by what we've discovered, we laugh all the way back to the hotel in the tiny taxi, with our benevolent Rottweiler bodyguards hitting their heads on the roof in the third row of seats at the back. The closest we come to death is now, as we drive back into town through some of the scariest suicidal traffic I've ever encountered. But we are very relieved we are still going. I'm beginning to feel rather strange and extremely tired. I take this to be stress and exhaustion, which partly it is. But it's something else. Michael Hutchinson, that's his name, and I are back in London. Just. Santo Domingo Airport had a I'm sorry, I'm going to try that paragraph again, guys. That's not making much sense. Michael Hutchinson, who was my cameraman, and I are back in London. Just. Santo Domingo Airport had a total power cut just before our flight was called, and we had to find our way to the gate using my head torch, my sixth sense, and a guiding mobile phone being waved at the gate by ground staff. There was no other indication of where the gate was. The British pilot took off with just the flare path working and nothing else. Roger Billam is heading home to Colorado. We hand the footage we've shot to the waiting production assistant at the airport. There's a week before the programme is broadcast, so there's no time to lose. She looks at our grey, strained faces and asks if we're okay. I don't feel okay. I want to cry. We've both got food poisoning and are as weak as kittens. The camera gear went AWOL when we changed flights in Spain, so we missed our connecting flight, and took it in turns to try and find the missing gear in between running to the toilet, very wizardly. I've had food poisoning before, but this is much worse. I can hardly stay conscious in the cab home. I sleep for almost 2 days, and I feel better. This is nowhere near post-traumatic stress disorder, but it's pretty bad. I find my wife in a restaurant with an old friend. They ask me how it went, and I start to cry for all sorts of reasons all at once. It's a mixture of relief, exhaustion, horror, sadness, and delayed shock about what I witnessed at the cathedral. These events are biblical in the way they happen. I looked up a passage in Revelations about an earthquake which left bodies piled in the streets, and it was a perfect description of Haiti. I'm coming back to Revelations too often. I'm still connected to the cathedral. I can feel the silver cord is attached to the energy required to move those souls on. It's still attached to me, and it's draining. I was so excited when it happened, I forgot to hand the silver cord off, close down my chakras, and ground myself. Basic stuff, but I left Haiti wide open, shining like a star. 4th of February. I need to offload the cord on the tour. Don't ask me why, I just do. I make the long drive down half dead. The climb to the tour is 10 times as long as usual, but the familiar little tower on the top of the hill feels welcoming and positive. They're waiting for me. The Maya guide and my North American Indian guide are waiting for me. I carefully call in the ancestors using my singing bowl. My staff is alive in my hands. The Maya guide, Quetzalcoatl, comes into me and I become him. I'm wearing a beautiful headdress of turquoise feathers. My face is painted white like a bald eagle. My staff is a ceremonial axe with feathers hanging from it. I circle and soar like an eagle around the tor, chanting and uttering spells in the tongue of the Maya. My Indian guide sweeps around us approvingly in the form of another eagle. I lift the cord from my shoulders and offer it to the stellar gateway. It's accepted and snakes away into the heavens. Immediately this happens, I start to feel better. I wheel on the air currents with my guides and gulp in the freezing air with grateful gasps. Next time, Mr. Would-Be a Wizard, remember the basic steps Angela taught you.